Vish, I don't know if you want to take this one as well. So Carlos said, I think the days of the bell cow running back is limited. Niners have had success because of the rotation. What teams do you think will follow in their footsteps? Are the Jets going to have a committee? We can go with the first part. Do you think the bell cow running back days are limited and kind of stopping, Vish?
No, no.
Hmm.
I think if you have that guy, you're still having a bell cow. I mean, Zeke Elliott was a bell cow. Derrick Henry was a bell cow, is a bell cow. Todd Gurley is a bell cow. Christian McCaffrey is still a bell cow. Like Christian McCaffrey, this is where Kamara, I think, changes the conversation. The difference between Kamara and McCaffrey is that you don't run Kamara 300 times in a season. With McCaffrey, you run him 300 times in a season because he's that good in between the tackles, and then you have the receiving ability. To me, Dalvin Cook's a bell cow. I would say Aaron Jones is a bell cow. Like overall, you go down. Joe Mixon to me is a bell cow. You just go down the list. I think Nick Chubb is a bell cow. I think that the bell cow running back still 100% exists. I think doing this running back rotation, it all depends on how you structure your offense, right? Like New England's been one of those teams that's been able to get away with four really different running backs who have a different skill set every single year. Like Burkhead, Michelle, James White, right? Three different running backs. Those are the three main backs. This year it'll be Damian Harris, Sony Michelle, and I think James White is still there. So they do this running back by committee, but to me, it's still, if you have a guy, then you're still it's still a bell cow league. But I think what happens when you get into this rotation is if you don't have a guy, and the Niners, they don't have, the guy. They tried to get the guy, right? Jerick McKinnon was paid like he was supposed to be the guy. He never lived up to that. Trey Sermon's been drafted pretty high. Like the Rams, like Cam Akers, he's going to be their bell cow. They drafted him really high. So overall, I still think teams are looking to run their offense through a particular runner. It's just if you don't have him, unless you're New England, you look to adjust and pivot and do whatever you can. I mean, the Niners tried to make Raheem Mostert that guy. When Raheem Mostert played, he was getting 14, 15 rushes in the first half. It was that wore him out. And then the second part of this question, I think the Jets are going to be maybe this year a running back by committee team, but I think I'm such a big fan of Michael Carter, and I know Blake is too. I think very soon into this season, it's going to be very clear who the Jets guy is, and I wouldn't be shocked, even though Michael Carter's body doesn't look like he could be a guy that could take the amount of punishment that, say a Derrick Henry can. I think he does have the toughness and the balance and the ability to avoid big hits to do that. And for that reason, I think the Jets will end up being centric to Michael Carter very, very soon.
Interesting. So the first part of this is the bell cow running back limited. I guess my thought would be I think I'd rather have, just breaking down health in cap situation, I would rather have a rotation. I would rather have a running back by committee. And as an example of that, let's go through a little list of some of the Super Bowl winners and what backfields did they have? Well, Tampa Bay, they had Fournette, they had Jones. The Chiefs, they were mainly Damian Williams. Patriots, for the however many times they've won, I feel like they've always had a rotation. The Eagles had an awesome rotation. They had Corey Clement, Ajayi, LeGarrette Blount. The Broncos mainly had C.J. Anderson. Seahawks mainly had Lynch. There's a few other teams on there. The Packers, when they won, James Starks was their number one running back, although I wouldn't really consider him a bell cow by any stretch of the imagination. But here's the thing. Even if you have a really good running back, like a top 5 running back, I still think it's valuable getting a good backup. Not only you're keeping them healthy, but they're more efficient when they are running. The Packers and the Browns, they have top 8 running backs. Me and you would agree on that with Chubb and Jones. But they've also had running back by committee. That Jamal Williams, A.J. Dillon were both there. And then for the Browns, Kareem Hunt was there. And then when you look at the Saints, even in 2019, when they had Kamara, who exploded onto the scene, having Mark Ingram there was great. I personally like the idea. And yeah, Latavius Murray as of recently. I like the idea of a running back by committee. And just having maybe one guy's your main guy, but having like a James White or a really, really good pass catcher. Jamal Williams was like that for the Packers. Great pass blocker and catcher. I think that is a little better. But yeah, I don't think the days of there will always be like a few bell cows in the NFL. Like that will never go away.
So my question is, okay, forget the Browns, right? Because they have 2 top 10 running backs. Sure. They're a little bit of an anomaly. do you view, having a solid second running back as being a committee? Because I still don't. Right. Outside of the Saints, and they're the special example because Alvin Kamara, he cannot be a bell cow, right? That's not his style. He's never had 1,000 yards rushing season. He's just not a bell cow running back. He's an all around, like, just offensive weapon. But when you look at, like, like a Nick Chubb, like, let's say they had a lesser player than Kareem Hunt, a guy who's a good receiving back, like a Gio Bernard type, I wouldn't look at them as a running back by committee because to me, they're still Nick Chubb centric running the football.
Okay.
Like, to me, that's where I disagree. Like, I think Alexander Madison is a good backup to Dalvin Cook. I do. I think he's a guy who can come in and have a 100-yard rushing game if Dalvin Cook got hurt. But I don't look at them as a running back by committee, if that makes sense.
So you're saying, like, if it's a running back by committee, they have like 3 guys that are getting a lot of touches. It's not just
Yeah.
2.
It's,
Okay, that's
it's
fair.
like Rex Burkhead, James White, and Sony Michel, or Raheem Mostert, Matt Breida, Tevin Coleman.
Would you say
I agree.
like the Ravens, for example, Dobbins and Edwards, and then Justice Hill will go in very sparingly. Like, would you consider that a running back by committee?
Yes,
Even though
I would.
Okay.
I would. And, I agree with you. I think it's essential to have a good backup running back that can spell your starter where you don't overuse a Christian McCaffrey, because you need him healthy for every important portion of the season. But at the same time, I don't think the bell cow is dead because these guys are still getting overused, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, from a team perspective, not considering the player at all. Like, if you have a running back who's really good and you have him cheap for 4 years, like, you're gonna run him into the ground. Like, think of what the Steelers did. They wouldn't give him a contract. They franchised him twice. I think the second time was unsuccessful as he sat out. But yeah, like, they didn't want to pay him a full time. They kept giving him over 300 touches a year. That's terrible for his health, but he was one of the most efficient players ever in the league. I mean, prime Le'Veon Bell was actually so special. And I mean, he averaged, I want to say it was like over 110, 120 scrimmage yards a game. Like, that's what he averaged. That is mind-bogglingly good. But yeah, like, you wouldn't want to pay someone who has over 1,000 touches, and it's, you don't pay them for what they've done for you. You pay them for what they will do for you in the future. And as tough of a decision as that is, like, that's just the reality of it.
Yeah, I 100% agree.